Welcome, everyone, to episode 6 of Exploring Genuine Transformation. My name is Lori Beth Goldman. I go by Lori Beth on Facebook, and we are into our sixth episode of this exciting show. I developed this show to be able to bring on and interview coaches, healers, and teachers in the realm of transformation. And one of the things that I'm most excited about in doing this show, and that which I usually repeat every single week if you have been watching, is that this show is really about it's really about what I'm most interested in focusing on is those who are excited about transformation and healing for the sake of transformation and healing, for the sake of freedom, for the sake of realizing that you already are free, you already are abundant, you already are everything that which you seek. And so today I'm interviewing Genevieve Rackham, and I will have her come on in just one moment, and we are going to be exploring this topic at length. The topic is you're not looking to become, you're looking to get. So I'll bring on Genevieve and then I will introduce her more in a moment. Yay! And as she's coming out, I'll just say,
hello. Oh my gosh, this angle is not the best. Okay. Hello.
Yay!
Yeah, I realized my camera stand that I normally use doesn't hold my phone this way, so I have it propped up on a bunch of books. So I'm just like,
But you're actually doing pretty well. You could come down a little bit and then
I'm just gonna lean back.
Yeah, you can lean back a little bit. Yeah. For those of you who have been watching, also, you can tell that I'm in a new area today. I'm in San Diego for a book launch that I'm a part of. A book that I just wrote is out. So
exciting.
Yay. So we're each in our own little interesting environment today. So I want to just introduce Genevieve. I'm so happy that you're here. And Genevieve is a money manifestation coach. And the reason that I'm really excited to interview Genevieve is because she has amazing energy, first of all, and so she has amazing things to say. I have watched many of her Facebook Lives in her Facebook group and have had the privilege of working with Genevieve. So I just know what a fun and masterful coach she is. And one of the things that I think is really cool about what Genevieve does is that her clients actually have incredible results working with her. Not actually, they do.
Facts.
In fact, in money and business. And so people actually do end up creating exactly what they want to create. However, the way that she's coaching them to create it is for them to basically be already sitting and embodying the energy of that which they seek. And so, as I wrote up in the write-up, and Genevieve will talk more about, we're often wanting the things that we want because of how we think it's going to make us feel. And then, so we're often looking for, oh God, if I just can have this, then I'll feel that way. And what Genevieve is teaching is you can feel that right now. And then you already are that. And then actually the things come. And even when they then do come, or even before they come, you're like, yeah, whatever. That's cool. I'm already feeling this. It's great.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting for me to be able to interview you, because a lot of the other people that we've had on the show have been, not talking about actually having the result is in the pudding, right? It's just yeah, I feel good, so that's great.
Right.
And you also are going to be talking about a little bit about how you actually can have what you want from that place, but then you don't even care anymore, and it's just great. Amazing. So
yeah.
yeah. So anyway, that's enough about Genevieve. That's enough about me introducing you. Not enough.
Interview over. Just kidding.
Anyway, yeah. So that's enough about me interviewing her. About me interviewing her. falling over my words today. That's enough about me introducing her, and now I want to, really be interviewing her and having you hear directly from her, because she has so much magic and just beauty and abundance to share. Really, just listening to her, I just feel so much of that. So I'm really excited that everyone who's watching is going to also have a chance. So yeah, why don't let's start with you just maybe adding a little bit to my introduction about what it is that you do and,
Yeah. So, I mean, I think you nailed it. I think a lot of people come to me wanting things, right? Like wanting to make more money, wanting to grow their businesses, wanting to sign clients, like whatever it is, right? Wanting to hit some kind of income level or milestone in their lives and in their businesses. And like the work I do with my clients is like, yeah, you get to have those things and you get to want those things, but we don't need those things to feel the way we think they'll make us feel, right? People want to make more money and grow their businesses to feel more worthy, more badass, to feel more safe and secure within themselves, within life, within, their relationship to money or whatever. And, the work I do with my clients and why they get such powerful results is because, I'm all about law of attraction and manifestation, because like, what else? Like that's the shit that actually works. And, like when you embody the feelings of that which you think you want, or what you want and what you think it's going to provide you in feeling, when you embody that now, you close the gap, right? So there's not this energy of seeking or needing, right? It's this energy of pure overflow, which is very magnetic to everything you want in life and business and money. And, because I truly believe that God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, wants you, like, you're here to want things. You're here to have desires. You're here to, want more and create more. And I believe that we're supposed to have the things that we want, right? And we're given the tools, we're given like what we need to create it, right? And so in the embodiment of filling that gap and you becoming like the source of security, you becoming the source of knowing you're a badass, how worthy you are, how like smart you are, that you get to have what you want, etc. Without it being there, you get the thing. You're guided, you're led, and you create it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So the last couple words, I love what you said, that you're guided, you're led, you create that. Can you talk a little bit about that process? Because it seems like that's actually part of the process. It's like we think it's the thing, right? But it's like also all the steps along the way.
Right. And to me, like the money and stuff, like it's cool, right? But it's like, to me, it's kind of like a secondary win to like what you become in the process, right? So like because people are like, oh, I need to make more money and then I'll feel safe, then I'll feel ahead, then I'll feel good, then I can relax, then I can be happy, blah, 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 right? But it's like when you give that to yourself now, and you give yourself permission to feel that now, it's like you take out the middleman once you're providing what you're actually wanting, and then you just start being guided and led. So like, I really love how Abraham Hicks explains this. If you're not familiar with Abraham Hicks, I recommend. But she talks about how like whatever, talk about how, our natural state is well-being, is flourishing, is, fulfillment, enjoyment, expansion, right? And that's our default setting, unless we introduce a pattern of thought or a perspective that kind of cuts it off a little bit, right? Or disconnects ourselves from it. So she uses this analogy that I really love and I always use, which is like, if you're a cork floating on the surface of the water, and that's alignment, that's you getting everything you want, that's you being happy, fulfilled, growing, whatever, you're here. And then when you think a thought that's like, I don't get to have that, or that has to be hard, or I'm not good enough yet, or I'm not safe, right? You're kind of pulling it down. And when you're pulling it down, so many people think that they have to like do so much more than they actually have to do in order to just let it bob back to the surface, right? So all you have to do is just let go and stop practicing that perspective, and you'll naturally elevate, because I believe, like the universe is infinitely expanding. Desire is a force that cannot be stopped. Growth is inevitable. Like we're all growth seeking beings. Like I've never met a person who isn't. I've met people who are, disconnecting from it, but we all want more. There's all something we're wanting, right? Mm-hmm. And because I just believe we're wired to continually expand. And in that continual expansion, in that being who we really are, as soon as we stop introducing the perspective that is causing dissonance from that will just naturally start to do that. And that is where that guidance is. That is where those epiphanies happen. That is where, you know, you get the ideas. That's where you sign the clients, make the money, and also just feel really motherfucking good, right? I believe that, you know, happiness is a process and growth, which is why I think this interview series is really badass, because, you know, like genuine transformation is why you're here, right? And along that path of genuine transformation, you're going to make more money. You're going to meet your soulmate. You're going to like love your body. You know what I mean? But all those things are just byproducts of the actual genuine transformation, which you can't stop and get in the way of because it's who you are. I mean, you can a little bit, but not really.
well, you were just describing that we actually do, and we do it in all these ways. And one of the thoughts I was having as you were talking, which is what I love so much about the work you do, is that you're actually helping people to be more of who they really are. Like, because somebody's going to come to you, right? Because they're like, I mean, they come to you because they love your energy, obviously. Like, that's number one. But like, somebody might come to you because they're like, well, I really want to make more money in my business, or I want my, you know, my offers to really feel good, and like, I want to be doing what I love. And that might be the goal. But then in the process of working with you, they actually, they actually get what they wanted more, that they get what they wanted even more than they thought that they wanted. So it's almost like sometimes you could look at it like, I'm not sure this is making sense. It's in my brain.
No, I'm listening. I'm following.
But that, like, sometimes we seek something, and if we actually, like, in working, let's say in doing the work with you, you get to see all the places where you're blocking yourself. You get to see all the emotional, like, all the belief systems that are getting in your way. You get to see all the emotional, like, all the different emotions that you're feeling that are coming from belief systems, or that are just kind of emerging, right? And that in doing that, in like, it's like you have a goal, so then you start to see that, and then you start to kind of like, one can start to then in those awarenesses, then they can be who they really are, which is love, abundance, flow. And so yes, there's still the goal that you have, but like in the process of it, you're actually getting to be who you are, who you really are. Like,
hells yeah.
Source, we're all
I totally agree.
Yeah, I hadn't really had that insight before, but that was just kind of struck me, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you're both getting you. It will lead you to the thing that you want, right? Because this is a vibrational universe, and we can if we can sort of align.
Right. Yeah, and I feel like God in the universe isn't being like, oh, you dirty little bitch for wanting money, shame on you. Like, it's all just things that exist that we can have access to, right? And when we're like removing the shame, the bullshit, like the programming, the lack, the shortage, the scarcity, it's like we become who we really are. Like I explain desire kind of like this to my clients, where it's like desire to me, because everything is happening first in like on like an energetic capacity, or in an energetic like realm, more or less, right? Like thoughts or frequencies, etc., right? It starts there before you tangibly create it, manifest it, or call it in, or whatever the hell words you want to use. When it starts there first, it's really about like, oh geez, I lost my train of thought. I'm a little discombobulated today too. But anyway, so like when you, like, it starts there first, and like desire to me, when we live life and we don't have enough money, it's like we create and expand the universe to include a possibility of us having more than enough, or overflow, right? When we have a relationship that feels like shitty, tight, controlling, we create the desire for a really healthy, you know, delicious, sexy relationship, right? You know, and it's just like all of these things in our lives create desire, create expansion, create the awareness that we can have more, right? And I really believe like once that desire is created, it means it's already done, like 99.99%. And we just have to do our part, which is like the opening up to it, the receiving of it, the becoming compatible with it, right? If you guys are into self-development at all, you've probably heard like in attracting your ideal relationship, like you have a vision in your mind, and some of it may be bullshit, some of it may be actual genuine desire, but you can figure that out. But anyways, like you hear like, oh, in order to attract my perfect partner, I have to make sure I'm embodying like who I see myself as in that ideal relationship, which means like you know, letting go of these insecurities, loving myself more, et cetera, whatever, like how, in what way, what do I need to become in order to hold space for this thing in my life? But also you're always going to want more, motherfuckers. So it's like, how, like, why make yourself so miserable on the way to the next thing, into the next thing, into the next thing? And why not feel happy and satisfied on the way to? Because you're always going to be on the way to something as long as you're alive. So yeah.
Well, and I love that. And that actually speaks to one of my like major intentions for this show is like even in the, like, how do we feel happy now, right? Like, how do you feel in flow now, regardless of what's happening? How do you, I think even with what you shared, it's like, if you can see the fact that, okay, I'm in this shitty relationship. Oh, good. That's providing the contrast for what it is that I do really want, or that's something that's just on the way. That every experience is something that's just like, kind of like leading you to the next thing. That also you're going to be a lot happier because you're focused more on sort of like, oh, wow, this got to show me this thing, or wow, I'm on my way there, instead of like, oh,
but
God,
so
I'm
many
in this
people
shitty
get
situation.
Yes, exactly. So many people get caught up, and I can do this too. It's a human thing, and it's fine if you do this. Don't beat yourself up for it, but it's just not ideal or helpful. And if you're doing this all the time, change something. But so many people will be like, oh, like, let's use the relationship analogy or the not enough money analogy, where it's like, okay, so this relationship that feels contractive and tight and limiting is showing me that I want one that's more expansive and free and whatever the things it's showing you that you want, right? A little more fun, sexier, whatever. But it's like, it's showing you like that's possible for you. That's what you get to have. That's an option that's available to you. But so many people stay in like the shitty relationship, for example, or the not enough money, because they continue to practice and tell the story of, well, I don't have enough money. Why I don't have enough money? Why I don't have enough money? I'm in a shitty relationship. I'm in a shitty relationship. I'm in a shitty relationship. And they're not activating the part or giving into the part of them that's already going on within them that wants to expand, that wants to give into the desire for more or for better or for improvement, right? And when you give into that, you can mentally and emotionally conceptualize the improvement, the betterment of your finances, business, relationships, body, whatever, and then move toward it, right? Because it's like, desire to me is like a frequency that you receive. Like, by the time you can go, I want to make more money, like, or I want to, have a better relationship, or I want to feel healthier in my body, or I want to love myself more. Like, to me, that means it's already done on like the energetic and the spiritual realm, or whatever you want to call it. And all we have to do, like, I kind of explain it like God's doing all the work for you. All you have to do is be available for God's guidance, the universe, whatever you want to call it. And to me, I explain it like kind of downloading an app on your phone where it's like, I want to play a card game, which that's coming to my mind because my boyfriend plays card games on his phone. But he's like, go to the App Store, card game, and then that's what I want, right? Go type it in, look for it, search, download it, and then it just starts downloading on your phone. And then once it's finished installing, you can fucking have fun with it and play it. And then it's just on your phone forever until you delete it or don't want it anymore. And I believe everything else is like that. By the time you can say, I want this, right? And you can remove all the guilt, the fear, and the bullshit that's keeping you from fully saying yes to it, it starts coming. It starts like downloading. It starts like being, like desire to me is a force that's already alive and existing in the universe. But whether or not it's in your life yet or not has to do with, are you allowing it? Are you available for it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I guess one question that I have about that is, I don't know, this just came to mind. Like, if someone is in a shitty relationship, or if someone is, I mean, we could use that as an example.
It's a fun one. I always use the relationship stuff, even though I'm a business coach
and how many women specifically, but also everybody has been in like, they're in a relationship with someone who's like avoidant or unavailable, but then they're continuing on in the relationship. But I think what I find, I'm going to use that as an example, because what I'm really curious about with this particular work is, like, in that situation, I think I have been in that situation, so I can out myself for that. But
I think we all have.
it could feel really hard to like, well, I haven't been in it, but then like my experience is that but then I won't be with somebody for a year, which was my case. So that was real,
So it's just like a weird belief you had that wasn't even having to be true. Right.
It didn't have to be true anymore, but it was something that had happened in the past, right? So I think the question I have is like, how would you guide somebody and the relationship thing could be one thing. Another thing could be money. I mean, that's the main thing that you work with people on. And, people have all kinds of very challenging relationships or feelings about money, and like, well, I've never had it in the past. My parents never, my family didn't have it, like, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm curious how you would, like, if somebody's already in that situation where they're either in that bad relationship or they're in that relationship with money where they're just like, yeah, I've never been able to make anything and I won't be able to. How do you begin to work with somebody in that capacity to
Yeah.
shift some of those, you know, to even like the person in the relationship? How do you get to the point where you can get them out of the relationship, right?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it would vary depending on like kind of where they were at with it, and kind of what space they came to me in. But like a general synopsis, or addressing of this would be, I would look into like, how can we expand them beyond what is, right? Like, how can we conceptualize improvement and betterment in their relationship with money or their actual relationships in their lives, their relationship with themselves, like whatever it is they're looking for, right? How can we conceptualize and move into more, right? A lot of people, like, I would say, like, the reason why most people don't have more money or better relationships or whatever is because they're upper limiting themselves. Like, there's some part of them that believes or doesn't want or is afraid of life getting better, right? So it's all about kind of weeding out and finding where they're holding on to these stories and these belief systems that conflict with them having the improvement or can fully conceptualizing the improvement, right? When you fully conceptualize something, it feels like nothing can get in your motherfucking way. This is done. This is a done deal. I need no proof or evidence of this, right? I just know it. I feel it, right? Like, I remember having that feeling when I used to have like relationship patterns that were like controlling. I got to this point where I was like, fuck this. I was like, I'm never having this again. And there was like this flip that switched to me that was like, done, never. Like, it was like this feeling of like, I'd rather be alone than have that. Like, I'm so unavailable for that ever again, right? And then that expanded me into this, like, hell no for this, hell yes to this, right? And so
Okay, but
began.
wait. But how did you get to the point of I'm unavailable for this?
I'll get there.
Okay,
But,
sorry.
you know, so it's okay. But it expanded me into this, like, being able to conceptualize, like, oh, I can have something that isn't that and is this instead, right? Because it was kind of like I believe that there's like an equal and opposite energy for everything, right? So when you feel this shitty, let's stay in the camera. When you feel this shitty, there's a capacity to feel this good, right? When you feel this shitty, there's a capacity to feel this good, right? And it's just like stretching your expansion for what you get to have. But, you know, I find with why people don't have more of what they want is like they're either practicing some level of duplicity with it, like a conflict, like, I want this, but I can't because blah, or I don't believe blah, or it's always been like this in the past, blah, right? So if it's like in the past, kind of the story narrative that's holding you back, like, I want to have more money, but I've never had money. I never knew anyone who's had money. My family has always been broke, like, which was the case for me, which is where I started. It really took like a deep kind of healing and letting go and sitting with the emotions of the past and just kind of knowing like, hey, you know, this story around money was passed down from, you know, my parents to me, which was passed down from their parents to them, their parents to them, their parents to them. And it's just been a narrative. It's not what has to be true. It's just been what we felt is normal because we learned that, right? And it's just kind of highlighting what the actual truth is, which is like, we live in a universe, in a world of infinite possibilities, and we have so much available to us when we just open ourselves up to it being possible or available to us, right? And so with like the past narrative of like, nobody's ever had that, I've never had that, well, I tried that once and it didn't work out, right? It's like, well, to me, that would show me that like the person is holding on to a past experience or trauma around relationships, money, whatever. So there would maybe have to be a rewiring around their sense of identity, right? And shifting stuff with the identity is really fascinating and interesting because people can have subconscious resistances to doing so because, oh, if I'm like, I had to deal with this, like I bonded with one of my parents through struggle with money. And if I outgrew that identity, how would that affect the relationship? I didn't consciously think that or feel that, but when I sought out to improve that was kind of like an emotion that came up, and I was like, that's fucking weird. But you know, it came up, so it was relevant, and I had to heal and address that and let that go and shift that, right? Or if it's like just some kind of duplicity or conflict of like, I want this, but it's literally just as simple as thinking your thoughts on purpose instead of just thinking the thoughts you're used to thinking, right? Choosing something new. And then I find when we let go of those past experiences, heal, release them, integrate them, process them out, change the duplicity so that the thoughts we think, the things we feel, and the things we believe, because belief is just a thought you thought over and over and over until your brain literally hardwired it as like an immediate like neural pathway or like response, right, to life. So when we change those things, practice the new thoughts and stories, then it's like when we're naturally just kind of in alignment with what we want, every facet and aspect to us, we just elevate, we just move forward. We just move into naturally the expansion that's already calling and pulling us. If you are a person right now who's like, I want more of blank, or I want this, I've never had that before, or I want more money, a better relationship, blah, blah, blah. If you're to the point where you can say, I want this,
yeah,
you're already well along the path. See, that desire is pulling you. You can feel it when you give into that thought. It's like, I want this. You feel this like wanting, right? It's this pulling. So when you remove the duplicity, that pull will just full on take over. There's no more breaks. There's no more like running into trees. I don't know. Like you just go, right? And I kind of explain it like, I've had a lot of clients in the past be like, Genevieve, I want to make more money, but how do I do it? And I'm like, when you really truly decide to make more money and you remove the duplicity, you don't need to know how, you just do, right? Just like when you decide to stand up and go for a walk, you're not like, how do I do this?
Yeah.
Stand up, left foot, right foot, you just get up and move, right? And it's the same thing with money, business, relationships, everything. You just figure it out as you go because you decided it was going to be that way. And then it just lines up and works out and you adjust as you go.
But it sounds like if you're working with people that, like, obviously people are in different places, right? Like some people you can work with and they're just like, oh, I didn't realize that I had this belief. Okay, I'm just going to now practice a new belief. Or, there's the moment of, right, like seeing what the limiting belief is, or seeing that, like what you described about your own family, like seeing that, and then maybe, I don't know how easy or hard that was to let go of. But when it is when people are really dealing with kind of like very entrenched sort of identity issues, or ways of being that I think I'm sort of, ways of being that are more entrenched. I'm curious how you work with them. I'm also coming at this because, I was a psychotherapist. I've been a psychotherapist for 10 years. And obviously there's been like a huge, I've shifted, and there's also been a huge shift in the field towards like hardwiring what it is that you want, hardwiring happiness, like shifting your neural pathways towards pleasure and gratitude, and that actually creates what you want. But in the field of psychotherapy, I definitely was I don't know what the word is, but this is what I definitely went through in my own healing. It's just like I kept thinking that it needed to be hard. I kept thinking that I needed to like go so deep into the past experience and
right. And sometimes that's helpful. But I think it's all about kind of how it feels when you're going into that. Does it feel like, it's always like, I always tell people, like my clients, myself included, I'm always like just paying attention to how it feels in my body, where it's like, and it almost feels like, I feel like your body can tell you what it wants and what it needs. Like when you're thirsty, you're like, and it's like, drink water, bitch, right? Or when you're tired, it's like, oh, go to sleep, right? I feel like your body is a really good communicator with you, and it tells you what you need. So with emotion that's stored in the body, for example, trauma is getting to the root of the problem, right? It's really healing and beneficial to sit with it, feel the feelings, and then, process out, like me, and hold space for yourself to feel, cheated on, abandoned by money, like things don't work out for you, like things are hard, expressing that, feeling that, holding space, like holding yourself in that and being okay with feeling like that. But also like having the intention and forward, like the intention of forward trajectory and movement forward, right? Which is like, what else could be truth here? Like, what else could this mean? Right? What else could be true about life? Like, what else could I have? What else is available to me? Right? And I think it's like really removing like the shame and the guilt around feelings about life, and around having these belief systems that life's hard, or that money is a struggle, or whatever the thing is. Removing the shame that you feel that way and just letting yourself feel that, right? Those who deny how they feel don't move beyond their feelings, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Yeah. And so when you give yourself permission to do that, you can start to feel when it's like, am I staying in this? And I'm starting to feel kind of stagnant, right? And like I'm not moving forward. Then at that point, your body literally wants you to let it go. Like it's like saying like, hey, process me, release me, like let me go, so you can move forward, so we can move forward, right? So yeah, that's kind of how I approach that.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love that answer. And also, the other piece that I'm kind of holding in this conversation, which I think is really beautiful, is that you know, I think we can also be trained that it's not okay to want what we want. And so, you know, such a big part of your work.
Just kidding.
Obviously, right? So then there's a huge conflict because it's like,
right.
not only like, oh, I want this, like if somebody even can allow themselves out, like, oh, I want to make a bunch of money, or I want to, you know, or I want to make, I want to feel abundant. I want to, you know, I want to be on fire about my work, whatever. But then I think people can, you know, it seems like, like it can be, there can even be a conflict around like, is it okay for me to want this? Should I, you know, is that okay? You know, is that okay on some, I don't know.
Yeah, no, my favorite, I get that. Yeah, my favorite question to ask myself, like, because my core beliefs is that God is not judging you or shaming you or thinking you're a greedy asshole for wanting things. Like, I really believe that all the desires we have, the true, genuine, soul-aligned, like authentic soul desires, whatever, you guys know what I mean. You know, like those are of benefit and of service to everyone and all that is, right? And you know, when I have like, cause I have those feelings come up, like it's a part, like it's a continuing process of like kind of continuing, like in me, like continually growing my business and my finances and my relationships and my body and just my life and everything and continually upgrading. You know, there is a continual like relationship with myself around letting go of these things that come up, but it's like the shame and the guilt and whatever, when everything just is, like nothing, I guess, is inherently good or bad in nature. Like a lot of people like money is evil, blah, 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 when it's just money. Money's just money. People have used money for evil. People have used money for good, but money's just money, right? And so, you know, when we can look at that voice as it comes up more subjectively, right? Which takes kind of, it's like an art and a practice. It's not perfect. But, you know, because sometimes there's so much like heavy emotional charge with certain thoughts that come up that you need to process them out and hold space for yourself, like I was talking about earlier. But other times it's like when you begin practicing yourself out of it, because your brain is just doing what it does, which it's a survival mechanism. So it's just trying to keep you alive based on like what belief systems it took on early on to kind of fit in with your parents or your upbringing or whatever to, you know, stay with the tribe and survive, right? So it's like, where did this come from? You know, just kind of asking yourself those questions. Like when you admit, like, I want to be a millionaire, like I want to fucking have a profitable business, or I want to have a relationship, or I want to have a peach booty, like whatever the fucking thing is, like whatever you want, when you say, I want this, and you feel that guilt or that I shouldn't want that, that's vain or shallow or whatever, where did that come from? Interesting. Like, and I had this thing for a while, like, no offense, mom, but if you're watching this, but, you know, cause I learned a lot of my, belief systems early on about money through my mom. And, you know, we weren't well off, you know what I mean? Like, and, you know, scarcity was very huge and predominant in my childhood growing up. And, you know, as I was practicing myself out of those mentalities and stories around money, like eventually like the voice would come up and I would just be like, hi, mom, you know, like to the voice in my head that was like, you know, instead of me being like, oh my God, it's true, freak the fuck out, right? So it's like, it's not really, the problem isn't really that the thoughts are there, it's that we identify with them and we make them true. And then when they're true, our reticular activating system, like our literal filter of reality, filters everything to look at it through that lens. This is evidence of that. That's evidence of that. That's evidence of that. And then we literally act and create accordingly. So it's like when we can remove those filters or align them with what we want, life gets a hell of a lot easier and a hell of a lot more fun.
Yeah. I love that. And I was just, as you've been talking, I've really just been reflecting on how much of what you teach and what you do with your clients is, it's basically just an awareness practice. Like it's basically just becoming or a mindfulness practice, we could say, right?
Yeah.
Like becoming very aware of your, you know, it's like, oh, what am I practicing right now? Or like, oh, if I feel guilt about this, then guilt, like that's a bullshit emotion. Like that's not me. Like, you know, so it's like, okay, where's this coming from?
Or like, why am I feeling guilty?
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I mean. Like,
right.
So you feel, you know, guilt or shame, or you feel some kind of like, oh, I'm not okay, I'm not enough. Like all of that is just like things that we've learned to, like you can begin to see that as just what you've learned to practice. And it's like, it's an alarm bell that's basically saying like, okay, there's something else going on here. Like
there's something to look at. There's something that wants my attention.
Exactly. There's something, but then also to be able to be aware of all the different thoughts and emotions and and therefore like vibrations that we're continually practicing all the time. And to be able to
Right.
like even becoming aware of it in a moment, you then can shift it. Like even in the moment of like, oh, I'm doing this again. Oh, that doesn't feel right. Or, you know, or like what you just said, like, okay, like, you know, your funny thing with your mom.
Yeah.
then you're, you know, and that's where it goes back to like what we started with, which is that I think, it's like, yes, you're helping people get these like great results and we want those things, but really like in the process, you're actually becoming more of who you really are. And, you know, you're getting to then live in the place of love, in the place of abundance, in the place of, you know, feeling in flow and ease, and things get to be easier.
Yeah. And I think it's really just knowing like you get to be whoever the fuck you want. You get to live whatever life you fucking want. And so it's like, what do you want? What do you want? Like, how do you want life to be for you? Who do you want to be in this life? Like, are you gonna wait until you're on your deathbed and regret everything? Or are you just gonna fucking go for it? Right? Like, if you could just like write on a piece of paper, like, this is the ideal version of my life. This is who I want to be. This is how I want to feel. This is like how I want my shit with money to be, my relationships to be, my body to be. Like, what would you want? Right? And then it's like, in you being that person, just pretend like you already are for a minute, who has that life, who has those relationships, who has that relationship with money, who has that business, that like whatever, who is he or she, right? Who are you in that life? What thoughts do you think? Like, what do you believe about life? What do you believe about money? What do you believe about relationships? What do you believe about yourself, right? And in what ways now are you practicing thoughts, beliefs, habits, whatever, that aren't in alignment with that, right? And that's where the work is. That's where the transformation is.
I love that. That was such a succinct way of kind of putting it all together. Yeah.
Yeah.
I will just say one more thing, just because there's a loud sound here all of a sudden.
It's all right. We can hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's like a plane or something.
Yeah. I'm outside. But also, I think, you know, I've learned this from working with you, that as I become more in alignment, like as I actually clear all this shit away that we're talking about, right? Like the minutia of it, then I become more in alignment for what it is that I truly want. Because I think all of us could write down on a piece of paper because, oh, I want this because I think it's going to make me feel this. But often it can be based on conditioning. Right. And based on like previous beliefs about like what, you know, like we've learned, like, oh, if I have, you know, it's like, yeah, like if I have this kind of relationship, then I'm going to feel this way, you know, instead of actually just being that now. So I think the beauty of it too is
so here's a better question. Yeah. When you're already happy, fulfilled, worthy, good enough, safe. Yeah. Hand over heart. What do you want?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Easy.
Perfect. We're going to end on that note because that was a great Well, so I love actually the last little, both of them, that question and then the questions before, I think I'm really appreciative of you sharing those because I think they give also our viewers a chance to actually kind of practice and begin to do the work that you're offering just on their own. So that's really beautiful. Thank you. And thank you for coming on the show.
Of course.
I would love for people to hear about how they might get in touch with you, follow you, or in the kinds of programs that you're offering right now.
Yeah, of course. So the majority of my content and vibes are in my Facebook group, which is totally free to be in. It's called The Rich Spiritual Money Bitches on Facebook. And, you know, this is just for you if you want to like really explore and connect with other people who are growing in their finances, in their sense of selves, in their worthiness, sense of security, safety, etc., and really exploring that in manifesting fuck tons of money, feeling really good, etc., growing your businesses, all the things. We also talk about relationships and sex and stuff like that sometimes. So it's a fun place to be in. And then currently right now, and today's actually the last day to get early bird for this, so which is the discounted rate, where I have a program called Not Another Basic Bitch Money Mindset Group Experience with me, where, you know, because as I've grown my business, I'm just looking to expand my business in a way where I can reach more people and, help more people at a time. So this is my container where it's a group dynamic and setting with, it's capped at 30 people and we're running out of spaces. But, every single month, like I just want to, the whole point of this container and the intention of this is rapid growth with money and your sense of self, right? So soul alignment and cash explosions. And in this container, like I'm going to hold space to support you through your specific blocks around money and business things. So there will be like monthly Q&As, monthly coaching calls, and then ongoing support inside the Facebook group as well. So if that's something that sounds exciting or interesting to you, you can shoot me a message to find out more.
Cool. Thank you so much. And I have been
Of
a part
course.
of Genevieve's Facebook group, and she offers a lot of free content in there that is totally a game changer with everything she's been talking about.
Yay.
It is a super fun group, and she does tons of Facebook Lives. So you get to just be in her energy field there. So
I'm actually going to do one after this, I think.
you're in the flow. Yeah. So thank you again, Genevieve. And
yeah, of course.
Once again, my name is Lori Beth, and I am a psychotherapist, a coach, and a healer. And currently, if you can follow me on obviously this page, because you are on this page right now. And currently, I'm offering intensive one-on-one containers, and I'm doing 3, 6, and 9 months. And the work that I do is it is really about it's basically being able to clear out, it's deep healing work, deep transformational work. I do work with following your somatic and emotional kind of energy in the body and dissolving long-standing blocks. So it's some of what Genevieve was talking about today. And actually a lot of these go back to core wounds. And so then and the purpose of my work is really so that you can create whatever you want in your life, because then you've kind of cleared out all of your conditioning and all the bullshit. And in the meantime, like similar to Genevieve's work, I think the thing I'm like most excited about for people is them getting to have more intimacy with life, feeling more of a sense of self-worth, self-love, and like confidence and empowerment, and just you getting to be you. And I find that the clients that I work with, it's like we're just needing to clear all that shit out, and then like pretty immediately they start feeling better and start living the life that they want to be living. So if you are interested in working with me, you can reach out, and also find me on my Facebook page.
Yay!
All right. Yay! Thank you so much, Genevieve.
Yay! Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for everybody who's been watching. See you next week. Bye.